Greetings, everyone. You have your ticket? You don't have one? No problem, my friend. Just hit the subscription button below and come on in, okay? Hey, guys, I just wanted to take a moment, to remind everyone again uh, why we as a people, talking about really everyone, but mainly, people of color, the Israelites here, so-called African American black folk, why we need to remember who people are and accept people for who they are, and not not allow ourselves to get hoodwinked again and again and again as we have, you know, for generations. I speak this. I'm gonna change this just a little bit. I speak this, and I want to speak it even to the, I guess what you would call the millennials, because a lot of the millennials, and I'm talking to you millennials, as well as everybody else, but you specifically, because rightly, to some degree, you guys have pointed the finger at the baby boomers, and identified the baby boomers as individuals who failed you in terms of not handling, you know, their responsibilities. I'm at the very end of the baby boomers, so if you want to call me into that number, you can. But for failing you in terms of not creating or not sustaining or being able to pass down, wealth, and other resources to you to give you a foot up. And again, I can give you 100 reasons, from crack cocaine to mass incarceration, in the 80s when you guys were babies and before some of you guys were born. I can go through all of that. But I don't think that's going to change your opinion. And quite frankly, this message is not to change your opinion. This message is to warn you not to repeat the sins of your fathers. Because if this is the way you really feel about the baby boomers, then I would say to you, don't make our mistakes then. And because if you're going to make our mistakes, then I don't know how justified you're going to be 20 years from now by judging us for the same things that you may be doing right now. Now, let me get into the meat of my message here. There's a book that I have. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Least We Forget. You follow me? Least We Forget. And what it is a three-dimension interactive book. And it's documents from the Black Holocaust, slave, events that happened here, in the United States over the last 400 plus years. It talks about many of the atrocities, etc. And a lot of the things that happened had tended to repeat themselves from generation to generation to generation. I bring that to your attention, least we forget, because we're back now approaching the 2020 election. And many people of color are looking at, Joe Biden and saying that, maybe he's the guy to take Trump out. And, whether he is or whether he is not, only time will tell. But to not understand who Joe Biden is could be to your detriment down the road. And here's why. Now, let me give you a couple examples. Just this past weekend, Joe Biden made several comments that should give you an insight of how this man thinks, okay? He was at this event, I think it was for Asian and maybe Hispanic children, but he was doing a special event. And he went on to tell the people at that event, and this is quoting him, and he said that, you know what, poor kids can be just as smart and intelligent as white kids. And then he went on to start talking about rich kids and black kids, but that was after he caught himself, after he had already said, what was in his heart. And I know a lot of you people say, well, people can make mistakes. Joe Biden has a history, guys, of saying a lot of racist stuff, guys. And I think, we're forgetting about it. And I'll give you, some additional examples, but let me, towards the end of this message here. Another thing he said this past weekend, he was talking about, the mass shootings, that happened last weekend. Now, someone who's running for president of the United States, someone who has his mind in the right place, someone who's speaking genuinely, from his core self, would clearly understand, what happened, where it happened, and as much information as someone at a high position that Joe Biden has, he ought to have people on his team, media people, who can really prep him with the facts. Joe Biden he called El Paso, Texas, Houston, Texas. Now, as you know, 22 people died in El Paso. This man got El Paso mixed up with Houston, Texas. And if that wasn't enough, he called Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, he called it Michigan. Now, if you know anything about the geography, Ohio and Michigan might be rivalries, but they're not the same damn state. And how do you get Michigan out of Dayton, Ohio, and you really care about, another 20 some odd people, 9 getting murdered and another, 11, 12, 13, 14 getting injured? Surely you would not have a slip of tongue on something like that if those people genuinely matter to you, okay? But that's not all. I wish I could tell you, that's the end of it. But it isn't. Then he went on to start talking about the Parkland shooting and how he met with the kids as vice president from Parkland. But what he did not seem to recall was that Parkland happened in 2018. His administration ended in 2017. Right? 2017, his administration ended. So it was impossible for him to have met with the Parkland students in 2018 as vice president. What happened is he got Sandy Hook confused with Parkland. And if you remember, Sandy Hook, I think, happened around about 2014, 2015. One of y'all can correct me on that. But again, this is the guy, who's claiming to care about America, care about what happens to the citizenry in America, care about, people of color, and those less fortunate in America. Doesn't sound like it to me. But again, least you forget, okay, if you don't mind, let me stick this in your face one more time. Millennials and everyone else listening, least you forget, all right? And you're going to run out there and vote for Joe Biden. I just want to show you something here. I want to remind you of something. Now, there's an old saying, I'd rather know about the wolf that I can see than the wolf that I can't see. In essence, I'd rather know there's a wolf sitting over there than a wolf over there hiding in sheep's clothing that I think is harmless. And at the same time, is as vicious as the wolf that I see. And when I think about Donald Trump, that's what I see. Someone who could kill less about anybody. Guy doesn't have an empathetic bone in his body. And I think Joe Biden is equal. But the exception, Joe Biden has done way more damage to us than Donald Trump has done. I'm talking about, the Hebrews, the copper color people from Turtle Island, or not from Turtle Island, here on Turtle Island. I'm talking about to us. And I say this to you young people who are angry at your elders. But you have to remember there are a lot of dirty, devious, side manipulation, just wicked stuff that happened to us as young people. Talking to myself included, because I was a very young man in the 80s. I mean, very young, just turning 20 years old. Okay? So we were victims. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm telling you, don't think that they were just, making the road easy for us. Many times I didn't get opportunity because of the color of my skin. And I can't tell you how many times I got called nigga and got treated differently, and opportunities that were being given, to, white peers who I was much more qualified than, but they constantly were skipping over me, and I had to fight and scratch and claw to get in a position where I could take care of my family and help others as well, which I did do. So as you accuse us, I think, you accuse us, to some degree, unfairly. All right? But again, at the end of the day, you have a right to your opinion. You have a right to feel the way you feel. I hope you just do better. That's all I'm saying. Because I could blame my parents for what happened to me. And my parents can blame their parents as well. Okay? But enough of that. But let's get back, again, to Mr. Biden. And just as a reminder, there's a saying, those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it. And there's another saying that's teaching is repeating until learning has occurred. So you've heard this video before. But I just want you to take this in addition to what you already heard me talk about a little while ago. Him talking about, poor kids can be as good as white kids. You follow me? Him making comments about, El Paso and calling out Houston or Ohio calling out Michigan. And mixing up something that happened when he was vice president with something that did not happen when he held no office and mixing it up. Okay? But this is in addition to everything else I've said and everything else you may already know. But check this out, guys, okay? Let's go here. All right. All right, come on. Yeah, it's trying to get dark on me, but it ain't going to happen. Here we go.
Back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street. That's number one.
You talk about your elders.
On that. Unless we do something.
He's talking about your elders, the one you're criticizing.
Young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because
this is 1994.
I give myself 3 more minutes.
So if you were born in 1960, you would only be 34 years old at this time.
They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. That society has it.
Now that's what I'm saying. And so as you this guy's talking about your parents. He's talking about your parents. He don't care if things happen to them that were not their fault. He don't care that they did it. He doesn't care. All he wants them to do is lock it. He's talking about the crack and opioid epidemic that hit a lot of the inner city communities in the late 70s and the mid 80s, along with gangster rap music and other things that just corrupted a lot of people, guys. And again, I'm not making up excuses. I'm just giving you the facts. You got to draw your own conclusion. But you heard this man. He's telling you what happened. And so for you to attack us as though this didn't happen, you're not being, I don't think you're being insightful, and I definitely don't think you're being intelligent. I mean, the history is there was a reason that you ended up in the situation that you ended up in, because they conspired against your parents to create the situation that you ended up in. And trust me, your parents paid a heavy, heavy price for being black, so-called black in America in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Now, I don't know where you guys getting your information from, how somebody had an easy made and easy street and they had the world at their hand. That's a lie. I was here. You weren't. That's not the way it went down. So all these people talking all that crap, and a lot of these guys, Jason Black, Professor Black too, they all jump on the elders as though they were here watching what was going on. No, they weren't anywhere. They're taking advantage of it. They're exploiting their elders so that they can, ride the wealth wage, claiming to be helping you. And I'm not saying they don't have good information. They do. But some of the stuff they're talking about, they're full of shit. But again, I digress. That's your decision. But when it comes down to Joe Biden, I'm just saying to you guys, that's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And a lot of you guys out there talking about, he's better than Trump. How is he better than Trump? We don't know what Joe Biden is going to do. And if his past is in the indicator, trust me, he'll make Trump look like an angel if his past is in the indicator of it. I mean, this guy was a segregationist in the early 70s, talking shit about he didn't want busing going on. He talked about, those racist Democratic senators, Thurman, and all them other ones, George Wallace and all these other senators, Eastland and the rest of them. He said they didn't call him boy. He said they called him son. Joe Biden said they didn't call me boy, they called me son. I know why. Because you were a son of the Confederate. He is a son of the Confederate, and he still is. That's why he makes these irresponsible, bigoted statements. Even right now, you're hearing it. Don't let anybody tell you, he's old. You got to take that. If he's that damn old, he don't need to be president of the United States. I said a lot more than I intended to say. End it right here. At least we forget. And I pray we don't. No reparations, no vote.